Okay, joining us now to break down the government shutdown, Joseph Williams, former senior editor at U.S. News and World Report and a journalist. Good to have you on our program again, Joseph.
Good to see you, Sean.
Okay, we're talking about the safety net. That is really the last line of defense for many in need. Some 40 million Americans depend on it each month. And how quickly do you believe SNAP benefits would begin to be affected if the shutdown drags on beyond a matter of days?
Well, we know right now that October benefits have already been dispersed. So there's at least a month lag time. So there's about 3 or 4 weeks for the Republicans and Democrats to work it out to try to figure out a way to get the government back open that won't cause the most deleterious effects. But the problem is, the further you get down the road of a shutdown, and even the prospect of a lingering shutdown, rather, with people dependent on these things, it causes anxiety, it causes a lot of sense of insecurity for people who are already insecure, and it makes their system feel that much more, their situation feel that much more tenuous. So even if the shutdown is over tomorrow, the prospect that this will happen again in another year or another 2 years or however long, that's kind of the sort of Damocles hanging over people's heads. And that doesn't make for a situation that is unstressful or not traumatizing. I mean, even the prospect of having these benefits taken away for who knows how long certainly is traumatizing. You have people trying to stock up, people trying to prepare themselves for an event that they don't really know when it's going to happen or when it's going to be over.
Yeah, and while Democrats and Republicans play the blame game, furloughed workers are being asked to continue doing their jobs and you'll get paid down the line. But let's talk about people who get the WIC benefits, because we talked about that. And these are very important to women, children, and infants, some 6.7 million. When is the real impact going to hit this very vulnerable sector?
In a matter of weeks. I understand that there's been funding that the Department of Agriculture and Health and Human Services may incorporate to try to kind of cushion the blow, but the blow is coming, and it's going to be weeks rather than, or rather days rather than weeks. So we're looking at a very short-term time horizon here before the impact really happens. And again, it's the same situation. We're hurting populations that are already vulnerable, that are already struggling to figure out where their next meal is going to come from. And with children, you're talking about the next generation that's going to grow up trapped in this kind of a cycle where we don't know if the benefits are going to be there. It's a level of insecurity, and it's going to make for a very difficult situation, either moving forward, trying to trust the government. Keep in mind also that with the big, beautiful bill, there are a host of work requirements that are coming for Medicaid and a lot of cutbacks that are coming for these programs. So no matter which way you slice it, benefits are going to either disappear temporarily, and when they return, they're going to be substantially smaller than they were before the shutdown.
Interesting. You know, people have always depended on alternative sources, churches, food banks, things of that nature. How many people are going to lose food assistance if this shutdown continues? What kind of contingency plan is out there? And right now, what are churches and food banks doing to help this vulnerable population?
Well, churches and food banks have always been the last resort, where you have no benefits or you're trying to supplement your benefits. Even think about the last shutdown. You mentioned earlier that you have a lot of white-collar federal workers who are going to be working without paychecks. They're going to be hitting the food banks too. They did the last shutdown that lasted longer than a couple of weeks. So in addition to having little access to paychecks, fewer benefits when they do return, you're also having a system that's going to feel more pressure because more people are going to be depending on these sources and services of last resort. And the last time I checked, the churches were really kind of struggling as prices were going up because they were seeing more people then too. So you've got almost a triple whammy here with rising prices, a government shutdown that's curtailing benefits, and more white-collar workers who are going to be showing up at food banks and in those lines to get services from churches. And that's on top of already struggling churches that are feeling the weight, had been feeling the weight for many weeks before this even happened.
You know, it's interesting because this government, the Trump administration, would never be described as warm and fuzzy. They've been very critical of people that they presume are living off the government teat, for lack of a better term. Is there any contingency plan out there from states? Do they have money put aside? Can they tap into other tax money to help people if things get dire?
In several states, Maryland being among them, where I live, the rainy day fund has been depleted already. Governor Westmore showed up with a $6 billion hole in his budget. So to get money for the additional federal workers here, he's going to have to scrape around. He could probably come up with it, but it's probably not going to be very much. And B, who knows when he's going to be able to actually disperse it and how effective it actually will be. States like Virginia, other states like the District of Columbia that are going to be hard hit with a lot of federal workers, there is going to be additional pressure on the system and additional pressure to find money. But also keep in mind here as well that Trump has restricted a lot of payments that would be helpful to people. In Western Maryland here, there were a lot of floods earlier this year that Trump has refused to fund simply because they're in a blue state, no matter the fact that the region that he's talking about went for him overwhelmingly. So it's going to be piecemeal, it's going to be patchwork. There are no really great solutions here. The states will try to do what they can, but they're going to be operating in many cases with one hand behind their back if they're lucky.